Overall thoughts on the result tonight and the performance?
It's always frustrating when you lose, especially at home and against a team that I think we're, quite obviously competing for in a playoff spot. So it's frustrating. I think the guys are disappointed. Obviously, the staff is disappointed as well. It's always tough coming back after a break to be, I think, clicking. But at the same time, I think we had enough of the game in the first half to, at least get to halftime at zeros, if not maybe, stick one in the back of the net ourselves before they went up. And look, they've been on a good run as well. They're a good team right now. I know that they were in, one spot above us, but I think they're playing at a pretty high level. Really good defensively, obviously, from them, and they took their chances, which is, in this league, I think it's so crucial. And for us, I don't think we had the same composure close to goal to create, the types of runs and types of passes, and obviously finishes that they did. So I think they deserve the win. And it's time to get back on the training field on Monday and get back to work for another game. Obviously a big one against Sacramento next weekend.
Yeah, Benny, kind of a similar result to the last match against OC. You guys are getting the ball in good areas, a lot of shots, just can't put them all away. Just what do you think was missing? What would you like to see there?
I mean, I'd like to see us be a little bit more composed in front of their box. I wouldn't even say final third. I'd even say further closer to the goal. Right. We haven't scored a ton of goals, and when you don't score a ton of goals, I think you almost view every opportunity that you get close as like this ultimate chance. And so you don't necessarily, your eyes get too big. Right. And I think there were moments like that where we maybe rush the shot. There's maybe an extra pass available, or the cross doesn't necessarily come to the right player. And so I think just little moments like that, I would love for us to get a little bit cleaner, more composed, and, change a, 20-30% chance to score into maybe an extra pass that gets you maybe a 50 or 60% chance to score. Right. So, again, things that we continue to work on, things that we try and improve on every day. But I think that's kind of what was lacking a little bit, especially in the first half. And then in the second half, again, similar to, like you said, the Orange County game, where when you do fall behind, other teams are going to be tough to break down. And the one thing that I thought we did a little bit better than Orange County was we put a lot of balls into dangerous areas. Obviously, we get the one goal off of not even a cross, right? It looked like a shot from Bosi, but Peter committed to the run and was able to get on the end of it. And I mean, we had some other moments in the second half after that goal to, we put some balls into the box and we're just a little bit late, or you don't get the final touch, or the cross isn't exactly in the right spot. But I think that's what you're going to see a lot of times at the end of games when teams are defending deep in their half. So that was a little bit better than Orange County, which is something that we continue to work on. But I would say that in the first half, it would have been nice to kind of obviously go up 1-0. The game's completely different, and we had some moments where I think we could have been better.
Go ahead, Ivan.
So in the last two games where Oakland took one of the key components was Kendall McIntosh getting a clean sheet. You have ties to scoring Kansas City. You broke into the first team there shortly after your second stint. What's it been like working with him in getting him ready for these games?
Yeah, I mean, look, I worked with Kendall, the last couple of years there in Kansas City. He's become a better and better goalie each season that I've seen him kind of play in, and so it was a blessing to have him here. Like you said, I think every single one of our wins we've had a shutout, right, and he's been a big part of those wins. And so he's a guy that not only saves those types of shots in moments that we need him, but he's also an organizer from the back. He's a leader. He lets guys in front of him know where they need to be, and so I do think that he's essentially a part of that defensive unit, not just the last, man back there. So, he continues to impress, and he's going to be a guy that we depend on for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, West is still close, but 4 points back of eighth now. Just, do you feel like there's a sense of urgency to turn these results out now, with the with the clock winding.
Yeah, I mean, there's 12 games, right? You just can't lose that many games. If you lose too many games, you're going to fall behind, and essentially the season's going to be over before you know it. So you have to get results. There's no other, way to kind of dice it up. We're aware of that. And what I told the players is, leading up to this game, out of the 13 games left, I'm certain we're going to lose some, we're going to win some. But our mentality needs to be that when we walk in on Monday, you don't have any hangover from a win or a loss, right? Every week is a new week. You have a new opportunity, and you just can't, obviously you can't let the losses stack up, because at the end of the day, if you tell me in 5 weeks from now we've lost 5 in a row, you're probably out of the playoffs at that point, right? So you got to stack up some wins as well. But I do think that this team is resilient enough and has enough quality that if we have that mentality every single week is a brand new, final, so to speak, on the weekend, then I think we'll get enough points to get there.
So has there been a player, you talked in the past about players kind of showing up differently at practice and showing a lot of things and then it not fully translating to the actual game fully. Is there anyone that you've been watching the last couple of weeks that's you're kind of waiting for them to kind of break through that wall and kind of like they've showed on the practice field that, hey, we see it there, but we're not seeing it in the actual games yet?
Yeah, well, I'd say there's 2 guys that kind of fit that bill, but then I actually thought they did really well today when they came in, and that was Faisal and Babosi. We've seen a lot of things from both those guys in training. Obviously, Faisal's a new guy to the team. I thought we saw some moments from him, right? I know him as a player, and so maybe I had a higher ceiling or a higher viewpoint as to what his performance was, expectation level. And so against Orange County, I thought we saw some of those moments, but not enough in terms of really influential for the team. I thought today he was excellent when he came in, and we've seen that in training. I thought Babosi was excellent today when he came in as well, providing, the energy, the ability to kind of drive the ball forward. And they complemented each other pretty well as well in the midfield. So it was good to see those 2 guys kind of bring what they've done in training and now, successfully bring it into the game as well.
It seemed like Panos was getting frustrated in the box in the second half and reaching out and really wanting the ball, wanting to be in the center of attention. Is that correct?
I think we were all frustrated in the second half, right? We're down 2-1. We're trying to get balls into dangerous places, and I think Panos is one of those guys that wants to, put it on him, right? He's got that quality, and I thought especially in the second half today, I thought he did a good job of finding the ball and trying to deliver good balls into the box. And I can relate to a lot of those feelings, right? It's a team sport. There's 11 guys out there, and one guy is never going to be very rarely going to be able to just make all the difference in the world. Right. And so Panos has that mentality of really wanting to, drive forward and have that responsibility. And I think that's what you saw a little bit, but frustration is normal, but you can't let it seep into the game. You just can't, or else you take yourself out of the game to some regard as well. Right. So, I thought he did well in the second half, but I think that's a little bit what you see. Everybody's a little bit frustrated at times when, maybe the delivery isn't good or the run isn't there, or there's a foul called where you don't think it's a foul or whatever. And so I think that's just, his personality and his drive a little bit.
Just to jump off Daniel's question there about Babosi, he really looked like he made an impact coming off the bench like 5 minutes after you brought him on, gets an assist. Just, you have a really deep midfield. Just what do you need to see out of him or, the midfield in general for them to, get on the field? Because you have some tough choices.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's different qualities in each player, right? And it's about figuring out within how the team plays, what's the best matchup together, right? The 2 players that play in that area of the field, who combines best together, with the ability to cover a lot of ground. Defensively, you got to cover ground. The ability to progress the ball from the center backs into the attacking players. And so everybody kind of has different elements to their game, and how do you put 2 guys that fit together that somehow bring everything, and so I do think that it's great when I have the ability to, struggle with figuring out who those 2 guys are. But in a perfect world, 2 guys start really finding their form, and it becomes a little bit easier of an answer in terms of, hey, these are the guys that are going to be the engine in that team. And so, again, I think everybody's done a really good job. I didn't think Ali and Tyler, did a poor job by any means, but I do think that, Faisal and Babosi brought something extra in the game today and had, better games than those other two guys in the first half.
So up next, it's your first time managing Oakland Roots into a local derby against the Sacramento Republic. So on top of this urgent situation with the playoff push, what else are you looking forward to with this type of match that you circle on the calendar for Oakland Roots fans?
Well, one thing that I don't think I'll have to do too much is motivate these guys, right? It's gonna be a derby game, I've played a few of those in my days, and I know how important it is for Oakland Roots fans and for our players. And so going up to or down or up, right? Okay, going up to Sacramento. It'll be great for the guys, right? I think it's a great game to come after a difficult loss because you do have to get focused very quickly for the next one. And I do think, guys will be motivated and be ready to play on that one.
Last one.
Yeah, Peter Wilson gets on the score sheet. Seems like it's important for him to get rolling. Just, what do you want to see out of him, going forward in these last stretch here?
Look, I mean, goals are a big part, and he scored 2 in the last 2 games that he's played. So that's a massive, I think, monkey off his back a little bit. I think he felt it in the games prior that he hadn't gotten a goal and had gotten some chances. So it's great to see him, finish some of these opportunities. And look, I think our 9 with the system that we play, they've got to be very active. They got to be selfless at times. Physically, it's an imposing position because you got to battle usually against 2 different center backs, right? You got to be able to shift left and right depending on which side of the field we're breaking, building out from. So I think that's the one thing that he can continue to add to his game is the ability to be available in those moments to kind of open up the game for maybe some of the other guys as well. So I think he did a much better job in the second half. It was obviously a little bit easier because we were more attack minded and the ball was, higher up the field. But I think that's one thing that he continues to work on and can continue to improve on.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
if you want to just start with your initial thoughts on the performance and the result of the team tonight.
It's disappointing. I mean, not really one to talk about the ref or anything like that. You know, they were a team that was very soft, quick to go down. We also weren't on top of our game. You know, it was a weird game. Honestly, it was a physical one. You know, but it was more of a mental game than anything. Those are tricky. You know, we still could be better with the ball. Take advantage of, some of the weaknesses they had, and we didn't really exploit them the way that we should have. And they had two chances, and they put it away. So yeah.
John Farrell.
Yeah, Kai, it was it kind of seemed like a similar result to the match against Orange County. Just getting the ball in the good areas, getting a lot of shots, just can't really put them away. Just what do you think was missing? What would have you like to see differently?
It was just, I felt we were just disconnected at times. Of course, we could do better. It's not even about, just finishing the, the chances that we get. We still, at the end of the day, I'm upset we gave up 2 goals. You know what I mean? It starts with just having a clean sheet, you know what I'm saying? And, the way we play, we might get exposed a bit on the counter and stuff like that, but it was the first goal was pretty soft. Second goal was kind of a counter, but at the same time, it's both on both ends. You know what I mean? I'm never gonna just say it's on the attack to score, or it's both ends.
Yeah. So you've been around the USL Championship for a decade now. You played with a lot of different defensive structures, and you played against a lot of different attackers. How are you able to manage? You said this was a tricky game, and then because of the situation,
Yeah.
you had Gagi come off, and then you had to take on more defensive responsibilities, chasing the results. How did you manage that, being a veteran in this league?
It's just about reading the game. You have to be able to adjust in this league. If you're a true pro, you can play in any position. You have to adjust at the end of the day. If you can't adjust, you'll get a guy who can adjust. That's part of the game. That's being a pro. I played in different formations, 3-back, 4-back. So nothing's new to me. I'm just ready for anything. I've seen a lot of attackers. I've seen a lot of defenses, and it's just part of the game at the end of the day. So if you know the game, and nothing should faze you.
So you guys had the little break here, heading after the Jägermeister Cup.
Yeah.
And sometimes those games can either kill momentum or add to it. Are you kind of a person who really likes that break late in the season, or how did you kind of handle that?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I don't think that this break really threw us off. You know what I mean? I felt like we came back into work. We came back into training, and the intensity was still high, and everything was good. It wasn't like we came into this game like we're off our game.
Yeah.
Like during training, leading up to here. But I just approached it. I stayed local. Guys do whatever they need to do. They're grown men, but at the end of the day, we came back and we were focused. A break is a break. That's a mandate. A mandate that was part of the league, and we just do what we got to do. You know what I mean? It's actually beneficial for us. With guys who have knocks and some injuries that can get a little bit of a break right now, and I thought that was beneficial for us. So.
Yeah, Kai, West is still close, going to be
Yeah.
close, seems like the rest of the way, but, 4 points off of 8th now. Just, do you feel like there's a sense of urgency building in the locker room?
Oh, absolutely. We spoke, with Benny, and we understand like you want to win everything, going down the stretch here, but there's going to be some bumps along the road, and we have to embrace those and learn from those bumps. But at the end of the day, this is starting to become a sprint to the finish line, and it's all about momentum. You know what I mean? That's what it is with getting into playoffs. Just be the team that has established momentum.
Mhm.
I'll take, having momentum coming in at 7th place as opposed to like being a first place team and losing the last 4 games of the season, you know, going into the playoffs. It's about momentum.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You see all these top teams fall first round, you know what I mean? Because all the pressure's on them. You know, all the teams who have momentum, they have nothing to lose. And, you know, it's always better for them. At the same time, we're not trying to be the last bottom 4 going into playoffs.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying,
Mhm.
get the ball rolling now. And as soon as we hit the playoffs, you know, we're already rolling. So.
And we got the Sacramento Derby coming up. Do you talk to the younger players on the club about the significance of that and what the feelings are towards the Sacramento players and the fans and all that stuff?
I mean, if you see things, I don't really see derbies like that, to be honest. It's another game at the end of the day. Yes, it's considered a rivalry and this and that, but it's another game at the end of the day. Maybe there's more people in the crowd and more emotion. You're going to get kicked more, but you have to be prepared. We got kicked a lot this game. I don't think it's going to be any different with Sac. Maybe more fans over there, you know, because they know the rivalry and the significance of the game. But, you know, these younger guys, they understand the game now. You know, they're mature. They played in front of big crowds, but it's another game, you know, that we have to win. Nothing's changed. Like 3 points is 3 points out of the day, whether it's a rivalry or bottom of the table type of team. So that's how I approach those games.
One last one.
Yeah, just want to talk about Peter Wilson. You know, good to get a goal for him. Just what do you see from him in training? Just and how do you think maybe he can take that next step in these games?
You know, Peter, he's an animal. You know, he's one of those guys that I hate playing against.
Mm.
You know, he's rapid, he's strong, and he has all the potential in the world. You know, I think really highly of Peter. He's a 15 to 20 goal type of guy. And, you know, it's always good to see him score. You know what I mean? And I know he maybe been under some pressure, you know, lately, but, you know, we back him. You know what I mean? And we support him with everything. And he's great with us. You know, we don't worry about him or anything like that. You know, I really enjoy playing with Peter.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
All right.